Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the M5K. Now, the reason why this video is titled Zero to Hero is because I already reviewed the M5K when the Close Quarters expansion first came out, and I gave it a terrible review. In fact, in that review I concluded that the M5K was basically worthless. It didn't do anything better than any other PDW. And it was one of the worst guns in the game. So it was just a horrible gun at the time. It just had nothing going for it. Now, in the most recent patch, they changed the M5K, and they only changed one stat about it, and that is they increased the maximum damage from 20 to 25 per shot. Now, with a gun that fires at 900 rounds per minute, this is a huge increase in damage output. In fact, this damage increase puts the M5K on the exact same level as the AEK in close quarter combat. In fact, it's tied with the AEK for the second highest damaging weapon in the game, below the FAMAS. And when I say highest damaging weapon, I mean highest damaging automatic weapon, not counting shotguns or bolt action sniper rifle. Now, if I were to compare the M5K directly with the AEK, sure enough, the AEK would start doing a lot more damage than the M5K as soon as you start to go off in distance a bit. The M5K drops its 25 maximum damage all the way down to 13.75 at 50 meters. So at longer ranges, this thing gets significantly reduced damage compared to, say, an assault rifle. However, the M5K has amazingly good hipfire. The AEK doesn't have the greatest hipfire in the world. It's got a great rate of fire, so you can still drop people in close quarters while shooting from the hip. But the M5K, you literally don't even need to bring up the iron sights. And as you can see, I'm not even running with any sort of sight attachment on this weapon because I never really use the sights with this gun. It's hip firing all the time, every time. And if I put a sight on here, it would just be a small portion of my screen that I couldn't see past. It'd just be an extra little thing sticking off my gun, which I don't need to see. And you can just kind of appreciate the actual aesthetic value of the M5K when you don't have an extra sight on it as well. Now, one of the things that I critiqued the M5K for the most on my initial review was the fact that the gun starts off with 20 rounds in a magazine, and you can only get 30 rounds by unlocking extended mags. So it sort of forces you into a position where you have to use extended mags and you don't have an option of equipping some other sort of attachment in place of the extended mags. The same case as it is right now, you really don't want to run this gun without extended magazines. You chew through your 30 rounds so fast because of the rate of fire of this weapon that it can be sometimes difficult to get a few multi-kills with this thing. The reload isn't amazing, but it's still faster than the AEK, so it makes a much more lethal weapon in extreme close quarter combat. Clocking in at 2.2 seconds for the short reload time with a round left in the chamber, and 3 seconds if you've expended all of your ammunition. Compared to the AEK's short reload of 2.55 and the FAMAS's short reload of 3.05, this gun is the clear victor in terms of damage output in close quarters and fast reload speeds. Now, I would recommend running laser sight just to really accentuate how awesome hipfire can be with this weapon. I did see a few people running with flashlight on this gun, and you can still hipfire this weapon with an attachment that isn't laser sight. If you put a flashlight on this thing, you're going to be a real pest in close quarter combat. The laser sight, though, I think turns it into more of a precision hipfiring weapon. It's just absolutely lethal. You don't have to bring those iron sights up, so it gives you that extremely fast reaction time in close quarters with an extremely high damage output. It makes you very hard to take down in close quarter combat. Now, one of the unfortunate things about the M5K is that with its new damage buff, it really doesn't leave much room for other guns that are great at hipfire, like the MP7. Sure, the MP7 has a 40 round magazine capacity with extended mags, but even when you're shooting 40 rounds, if you're only doing 20 damage per shot, the thing really just becomes obsolete when compared to the M5K. I would rather down my opponents faster than have more bullets to down them at a slower rate. Now in the MP7's defense, it does have slightly more accurate hipfire. So the MP7 clocks in at 1.0 while the M5K clocks in at 1.2, and this is the spread of the hipfire accuracy when you first start out firing. So the MP7 starts off a little bit more accurate, but I find since hipfiring is mostly meant for close quarters anyway, the precision is not that big of a deal. At least the difference between 0.2 is just not that big of a deal, and the damage output of the M5K just makes it the clear victor. Now what if we compare the M5K to perhaps an assault rifle that's extremely good at hipfiring, like the F2000 for example. In fact, the F2000 almost has the exact same rate of fire, clocking in at 850 rounds per minute, still with a maximum damage of 25. However, the F2000 hipfire accuracy starts off at 2.0, which is significantly higher than that of the M5K or the MP7. So that difference in hipfire accuracy actually can make a significant difference, on top of which the short reload time for the F2000 is 2.5. So you're getting a longer short reload with the F2000 than the M5K. The M5K is just a fast little firecracker of a weapon. You shoot all your rounds extremely fast, and you can still reload the thing particularly fast. You don't have to aim down sights. You just feel very quick, very nimble with this gun. Now, like all weapons in Battlefield, they tend to excel when you choose them in the right environments. The M5K is not going to dominate in all situations. You are not going to want it running through the open fields of Caspian border. It's just going to just be horrible in that situation because its aiming down sight accuracy isn't particularly good and its damage at range is just awful. Now, if you really like playing close quarters, that is the perfect scenario for this gun. You just don't want to engage people at medium ranges. At medium ranges, that's when the tables start to turn and all of a sudden people start to have the advantage on you. But in close quarters, this thing is just absolutely lethal. So just get yourself in a close quarter environment and use the M5K. Force yourself into that close quarter environment. You can't just run around any map with the M5K. People aren't going to be screaming, oh, M5K, M5K is the best gun in the game, but it might be the best gun for particular maps. Now, I will admit there was a point while playing that I was thinking, uh-oh, DICE might have gone a little bit overboard with this gun. I think it's pretty darn good now. The only thing is it's still a very limited weapon in many ways. So, yes, it's extremely good, perhaps the best at a very specific situation. But if you compare it to something like the AEK, which has the exact same bullet capacity as this gun does and this exact same rate of fire, but it has much better aiming down sights accuracy and much better damage over range, you're getting a comparable weapon that is more versatile than this one. So this thing has to excel in some area. The only problem is when you compare it to something like an MP7 or other guns in the PDW class, it really does seem to sort of excel ahead of them, at least the hipfire ones. So I will say this, I like the M5K. I don't think it's too powerful. I think it's incredibly good, and if DICE is planning on keeping this gun the way it is, they're gonna have to up some of the other PDWs. You know, you're gonna have to change some stuff to compete with this. I like that there's finally a PDW that's pretty much the king of a very specific situation, because before all PDWs were kind of just like, well, I guess you could run around with this gun with the recon class if you don't want to run with a sniper rifle. That's basically what the PDW's role was before, because carbines and assault rifles were just a lot better. I'm really glad to see that DICE is sort of focusing on hip firing being one of the popular things that PDWs do really well, and now that we have one that can dish out some serious damage, people are going to start using them. So no, I don't think the M5K is OP. Yes, I think it is OP when you compare it to some of its competitor PDWs like the P90, the MP7, the UMP45, the PP19. All of those guns seem to be a bit lacking when compared to the M5K in terms of just sheer ability to drop your opponents in the shortest period of time possible. So go give the M5K a try and just make sure you're doing it on the correct map. I think even No Shark Canal's Team Deathmatch might have too many long range situations for this gun unless you really just want to take it into the containers. In fact, in close quarters, I would probably not play Operation 9 to 5 because there's enough long-range scenarios in that map where the M5K is just going to be a bit limited. I think the best maps for it are Donia Fortress, Zeba Tower, potentially No Shark Canals Team Deathmatch. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please rate it if you did, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.